Ashley, welcome to the Joy Curator Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you.
Yes, this is going to be really, really fun. We, throughout January, are talking about the joy of taking care of yourself. And I'm going to tell you, top of my joy list are snacks.
I'm clearly a foodie as well.
I love it, love it. So you have grown such a cool business based from some family traditions and things. And so I would love for you to share your story with my listeners about the journey of getting you to Twigz Pretzels and doing it with your siblings. That's a whole nother level.
Yeah, the family business. Yeah. I'll give you a little background. I used to be a teacher, actually. I taught for almost 7 years, elementary teacher, loved it. But my husband and a couple of my siblings had started businesses on their own. And I always thought it looked like fun. But I don't know, my heart was in teaching at the time. And then one of my brothers was living in the States. And we are a Ukrainian family. So we love food. We love experimenting. My mom, we always tell her that she should open up her own bakery or some sort of cafe because she loves to cook and try new recipes. So one of my brothers was living in the States a few years ago and had tried a few pretzel products in the States and said, you know what, these are incredible. So he brought them back. We all tried them, and my mother quickly jumped on board and said, I want to try and make a recipe similar to this, and just experiment with it just for us to eat as a family. Anyway, she obviously got into the kitchen, and after hundreds of recipes, landed on a recipe that was so delicious, shared it with family, friends, and everyone loved it. And then my two out of three brothers said, you know what, why don't we just see if we can kind of start a business for Twigz Pretzels and see if consumers would like it and like to try it. And then from there, we got down to business and launched in Calgary and just kind of tested the market, went to some private local stores, and surprisingly enough, they sold through their product really quickly. So we kind of spread across Calgary within a few months. And then there are some amazing local programs, and this is actually right before COVID. So there were some amazing local programs, like the Sobeys local program in Alberta was incredible. They kind of really gave us that launching pad. And we launched into most stores across Alberta, Sobeys and Safeway stores across Alberta, within 6 months of getting product on the first shelves. So, and from there, we just did tons of sampling before COVID, sampling and just getting our product out there, going to meet people. And and then it just kind of took off. And through hard work, we're now sold nationwide in most major retailers across Canada.
Wow.
It's been a crazy few years.
Yes, you've bundled that up into like a perfect story, and I can only imagine all of the ins and the outs that have gone on in between. Besides the fact you're also a new mom and you've thrown that into the mix of a new business.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of hair loss. We'll just say the last few years.
I think that happens till the end of time. So I'm told once you have children.
Good to know. Then I won't expect
you're
to come back.
Welcome to the club. Wow. So your mom clearly has a gift of being able to taste something and then be like, okay, yeah, we can do this. But it's so true. Like, don't you find when you, I mean, obviously travel, being in the States or wherever in the world, you like eat something and you can like, okay, maybe bring, if it's appropriate, bring a little bit of it back to be like, oh, good, I want to be able to, I can have more of this. But then you're like, oh, it's gone. And not that you can't go back to get it, but it's gone and we don't have it here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, my mom, she cooks all the time and she's constantly bringing over. We all live within Calgary, my family and I. So she's always, every Saturday we get a sourdough delivery, sourdough bread delivery. I'm serious. So Yeah. So we have our own little bread maker. So she loves to create new recipes and loves to try different things. So it was right up her alley. And yeah, and so now we have 4 different SKUs, 4 different flavors of Twig. So
Yeah.
she has been the one behind it. We're obviously the taste testers, but she's the one behind all the recipes and tons of experimentation with that.
Wow. So what have you found as you've done this? I always find I have no experience. I've been a business owner for almost 20 years, but I have no
Mhm.
experience in like the food product launching, which
Yeah.
from friends and people in business, I've heard it's like its own little game of like how you have to do this business wise. Obviously, health and all of that comes factored in when
Yeah.
you have something that you're eating, but
Yeah.
what is your favorite part about this process, especially coming from being a teacher and having a very scheduled sort of routine to your life, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And then coming to business, which can have routine, but often also has no concrete things. You just have to go with how it's going.
Oh yeah, you're totally right when you say that food businesses is kind of its own CPG or consumer packaged goods world. And it is. I had very little business experience prior to starting Twigz. My 2 brothers had. So there's been so many learnings along the way. But one in particular that I found kind of the most interesting is just the marketing piece behind the consumer packaged goods food areas. Just how you can market your product in stores, how you can market your product online. And just kind of the community that consumers have with food products. It's really interesting. I wasn't expecting like that many people. It's for it to feel this close knit, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
we have a little review area on our website, so we get people reaching out just honestly on a daily basis, just saying, oh, we love your product and we have it here, we've tasted it there, etc. And that's, I think, just been really neat. I think kind of makes that more rewarding
Yeah.
for all the hard stuff. So yeah, I'd say the marketing and the community behind the food product business has been really, really fun and interesting.
Well, and it must feel so good to you as you grow, especially from starting how you started and then seeing your products across the country, to just still feel like there can be that close-knit feel sort of to it, even though it's
For
now
sure.
exploded to so many more places than I'm sure you probably
Yeah.
ever imagined in the very beginning. You know, it's like you dream of it, but then to actually see it come to life, I can't imagine how satisfying that must feel to like walk into a grocery store and just be like, oh.
It's still a bit of a funny feeling. Even just, I was in 7-Eleven a couple weeks ago and just seeing it on the shelves, you always kind of have that funny feeling because I never, to be honest, when I was teaching, I never pictured myself having or running a business like this. So yeah, in whatever it's been, 4.5 years, it's been a total shift, that's for sure. But it's been a great shift. And in terms of like the schedule, like you had said, going from teaching where, Monday to Friday, you've got this. And I mean, teaching is never a 9 to 5 job. You always have evenings and
No.
weekends, but with business, I mean, I'm sure you understand there are like literally every day is unpredictable.
Yes.
Your
And
to-do list is always a mile
yes,
long.
it's always a mile long and it has the potential. I think that's been one of the most interesting things that I feel that I also did not know prior to getting into business over these last almost 2 decades is just that it can be a 24/7 job every single day
Mhm.
for the rest of your life. And it's your choice to figure out what that looks like rather
Yeah.
than letting it consume you, which most of us go through phases and there's seasons, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
letting it consume you where it's like there really would never be a better time to slow things down. It always
Yeah.
can stay a mile long to-do list and then tomorrow repeats itself and repeats itself and it can go on and on forever. And I think that's when you notice people kind of starting to get burnt out in business is
Yeah.
because they just don't really have any parameters on like running a business. I think always sounds very magical to people, right? When they talk about
Yeah.
it, maybe you felt that way too, especially
Yeah.
switching over from teaching. There's this
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a business owner.
You have
But
the flexibility
yes,
and
so
yeah.
much flexibility. And, and of course, yes, it's wonderful to not have to sort of be accountable to other people. Sometimes you can just kind of do what you want. However, flexibility is a very relative term when you're the only person doing things.
Oh, honestly, that has been one of the biggest learnings for me, because I am a type A, I think as a teacher, I'm a type A personality. I like to be organized. I kind of like to plan ahead and have things predictable, things like that. I think that's been the biggest learning experience for me, is the first couple of years, just wrapping my head around, exactly. You're never going to have, your to-do list is never going to end, and really just prioritizing what needs to be done today. And taking a step back. And even last year, I said to myself, talking about kind of finding joy and self-care. Last year, I just kind of put my foot down for myself and said, no, on weekends, or at least one day on the weekend, don't look at your inbox. Right. You're not answering any emails. You're just taking a break. Because exactly, mentally and physically, you need that when you're running a business. It's constant. It's 24/7, 7 days a week. And especially now with my daughter at home, that's definitely been I thought I had it down. Now, perfect. I've got some time to myself. And now I'm still 5 months in, kind of learning and figuring out how am I going to balance this moving forward. And it's ever changing, because obviously kids' schedules are constantly changing, but slowly but surely learning about that self-care and just kind of finding my rhythm again. We'll just say that.
Yes. And I think that unto itself is an ever evolving process, like in business. And I almost think sometimes, I didn't know this at the time because I didn't have kids when I first started my business, but then years into it, once I did, and then that process was a whole learning curve unto itself of the unpredictable, the type A people like us, get unpredictable kids and whatever, who don't want to sleep or do what you want your schedule to look like. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second, I have way less control in all of this than I ever thought I would.
Oh yeah. It's been a shock to me. That's for sure.
Totally. And it just keeps going. I mean, it does get easier. Like I remember those early stages being like, oh my, I don't think I'm going to come out of this alive like this. And then somehow you have another one. I'm like, how did that happen? Do this again?
Round two.
But it does but it is like, I feel like we sort of all, as moms, you sort of have this like decade, in my opinion, at least, that kind of happens before they're allowed to stay home alone, as one thing, without having requirements legally to have somebody else watching over them. So like a decade's a while. Not that there isn't support. Obviously, all of us have support and the things that you need in order for your life to function. But for them to be independent, it's a solid decade, if not plus, depending on the kid. And it's a lot to kind of juggle and manage. Getting through those 10 years that change what feels like every 3 to 6 months of them doing something new or different. And suddenly you're like, oh, I thought I had that figured out. Oh, no, you didn't. Surprise.
I was literally just telling my husband yesterday, how, now I kind of realize what it's like to have a child and run it at the same time. Now I kind of need to revamp and figure out my time blocking again and all that fun stuff to just really, be able to manage it all.
Totally. So what do you find amidst the juggling and mix everything? I know you were talking about the marketing earlier, but what inspires you most about the work that you get to do in this business and how your product has like now touched so many people across the country?
Honestly, kind of learning. And maybe this is just coming from a teacher's perspective, but coming into Twigz, starting at 3.5 years ago, like I said earlier, I had no business experience or very little business experience. So just even the learnings on the finance piece and the accounting piece and just learning how to manage inventory properly and how to reach out to new retailers and kind of bring consumers on board, and even social media, little things like that. For the first year, I was running that myself. And so it's just been a ton of different learning experiences and kind of just wrapping my head around how to run this business properly. And I think that kind of gives me that motivation to keep going is, yeah, every day you're always learning something new and it keeps things exciting. We'll just say that. Yeah, I'm sure you understand from your end, but yeah, I'd say the learnings is what kind of inspires me and keeps me going every day. That's for sure.
Oh, I love that. How did you guys decide from the very beginning, once you decided that something was going to happen with these delicious little snacks? How did you decide how, as siblings, to move forward on this sort of together and feel that? Because that to me, I have never done that before in my life. So that to me feels like almost like next to choosing to work with your spouse or something where you're like, okay, how do
That's a big step. Yeah.
church and state here?
Yeah, honestly, it just kind of naturally happened. It was the spring of 2019, winter of 2019, we were sitting around my mom was experimenting. We were sitting around the kitchen table and we kind of just decided, you know what, let's go for it. We were all obviously working full-time, other full-time jobs at the same time. So it was an evening and weekend thing for the first few months. And we just kind of jumped right in and looking at, so myself, as the teacher, I kind of took on more of the glue behind us, that role. I took on a piece of accounting and, like I said, social media, and naturally fell into the marketing role. And then my brother Mark, he has a ton of sales background, and so he kind of fell into the sales piece, which is a huge part of a food packaged goods company. And then my brother Kirk, he's at the engineering side, so he's huge into finance and numbers and production and inventory. So he kind of fell into that spot. So we had a little bit of every piece of business covered right off the bat. And I think that made it a lot easier for us to kind of jump in and be able to take a piece and kind of progress as fast as we did. And it's funny, people always ask us, oh, like, how's it running a business with siblings, and is there sibling rivalry and all that fun stuff? But to be honest, I mean, yeah, there's things that we don't agree on. But I think it's almost been beneficial for us because we're more open with each other. So I think that it's helped us progress faster and get to solutions faster because we're just kind of more willing to share our opinion and that sort of thing. And we're just more comfortable with each other. So I think it's been a blessing in disguise the whole way through. And we just naturally kind of fell into the roles that we took, and it's been easier than expected. We'll just say that. I mean, there's always difficulties that go along with it, with any business that you're running. But from the sibling piece, it's been easier than expected.
Oh, that's so great. So how did you guys decide once you figured out your natural skill sets that kind of like put you into the roles that you're in? How since then, as you've developed and grown more as a company, how have you made certain decisions in regards to like, when is it time to grow our team? Even you just mentioning, I get these questions a lot from people asking me about business things. So I know that it's out there for people to want to know kind of like, okay, sure. Yeah. You like are running a business, and some people are starting it by themselves. Some are starting with partners like you did. But how did you then be like, okay, I can't actually do the social media anymore. We need to either hire somebody or whatever, things like that. How did you guys decide when the time was right?
Yeah, good question. It's always ever changing depending on what role we're looking for or role we're hiring. But I think the two biggest pieces would be kind of just goal planning. So say, for example, after that first 6 months of running the business, we knew we needed to kind of up our social media game. I didn't have the right experience. We'll just say that. I just say goal setting and what do you actually want to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? And do you have the capacity for that? The capacity is huge. And are you capable of that? I mean, for me, there was a lot of obviously learning behind the social media piece and online marketing piece. And then it kind of just got to a point where, okay, I've learned to a certain extent, but going any further than this, I don't know if my capability, if I have the capabilities to do what we want to do and reach our goals. Yeah. So I just say like goal planning is huge. What do you actually want to accomplish? And do you have the capacity and kind of like the manpower to get there? And if not, then look into hiring. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I was laughing at your socials this week. There was this Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod like
Yeah.
throwback photo where they're like promoting your pretzels. I was like, yeah, that's good, you guys. You're
Yeah.
on
Yeah. It's been, yeah, the marketing piece is just fun. It's ever changing, right? It's nothing stays the same. I think that's been, and that was the tricky part for me when I was running it, is I'd be kind of trying to catch up with all these different trends that are happening,
right.
even in-store trends that are happening. So yeah, it's fun, always changing.
I love how whimsical and colorful all of your branding and stuff is. Like it really does pop. Like it's so simple, your packaging, but so, I don't know, just the colors that you guys chose just really stand out more so than some of the other packaging that it would be kind of in a line next to.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
that was kind of like right off the bat. We knew pretzels were boring. Pretzels are boring, but not Twigz.
Not
So we knew, and all the other packaging is just kind of browns and orange and that sort of thing. So we knew our product was different than all other pretzel products on the shelf. So we knew we needed to stand out. And just coming from our family, we kind of have a bubbly, out there, love to chat, kind of vibrant, vibrant personalities. So we knew we wanted to add some color, add some pop, make the packaging, simple but clear, showing people that this is a different product. This is different than normal other pretzels that you've tried, or typical normal salted pretzels that you've tried.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, very eye-catching, especially when, like you can't know what something tastes like until you taste it. So if you're just seeing it on the shelf, I mean, I think we do that with lots of things, right? You're just like, oh, this is pretty, that it must be good. Sometimes it's a bust, sometimes it's great, but
Yeah.
but yeah, that makes a huge difference to like see that pop off the shelves. I don't even remember. I think the first time we tried them was a number of years ago, like when you would have, I guess, first had them in stores here, however long it's been. But seeing them, and it was my daughter, Lucia, and she was like, ooh, look at these, let's try them. And I was like, oh, everything just gets like shoved into your cart. All right, fine.
Just take it.
Try to be creative on like the lunch snacks. But I was like, okay, these are dangerous. And now it's never been just one bag. It has to be multiple. I only wish the bags were bigger because
I know
they just
that
don't
is
go around.
Work in progress. We'll just say that. we've had that request since the beginning. Yeah. And even that, right? Just developing different SKUs, and it's constantly revolving.
Yes. So now that you've had these for a few years, does your family still sit around and eat Twigz?
Yes. We get that question asked a lot. You would think that we would be sick of them by now, but to be honest, it's my husband and I, we love the buttery herb and garlic with hummus. Like it's kind of our go-to. It's just a quick, easy snack. It's definitely still in our household. New cheddar ranch is always my mom's pantry.
Oh, okay. You've listed the two top favorites. I'm like, I feel like the originals are like usually the go-to. That's what like my kids like the best. Yeah. But then I was like, well, we got to try them all, and wouldn't say no to any of them. They're all so good. But those cheddar ranch, oh,
they're tasty.
Delish.
That one took months and months of just recipe recreation, and they're tasty.
You guys are just like eating thousands of pretzels that are like not making it to the finish line.
Oh, we literally had to tell my mom, okay, no sourdough this month, because no sourdough bread this month. We're loading up on the Twigz Pretzels while we're doing sampling. Pretzels. Yeah.
Well, it'll be a great snack for your daughter too, once she's ready to be eating finger foods.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so to wrap up we've already been having so much fun, but to wrap up every conversation, I always like to go through some rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit better, besides your product that we're now getting to know better. Okay, so what is one new thing you have tried lately?
Ooh. Good question.
I often get this and then people are like, hold on.
I know.
I need to try something new.
I know. Seriously, I'm trying to think of a product that I've tried recently that was new. Oh, you know what I tried actually? So I don't know if you've ever heard, I don't know if it's sold in Saskatchewan yet. It's a local product to Alberta, but it's called Daniel's Dill Dip. They're out of Medicine Hat. And we had, like, I've been following him for years, because we had done a couple of giveaways with him, but I've yet to try the product. And anyhow, tried it back in December, and it is delicious. Really good with Twigz as well.
I'm sure. I was just going to say, it feels like a perfect pairing.
Yeah.
Just like buying it in grocery stores in Medicine Hat or in Alberta?
In Alberta, yep. Any Safeway, Sobeys. I know that I think they're in Blush Lane. I think it's vegan as well. I believe it is vegan as well. But yeah, really tasty.
I love hearing new products. We're in Alberta a lot, so always nice to like try new things. That's where I have some family too. Awesome. Okay. What is one thing that people sometimes misunderstand about you that you wish they knew?
Ooh. I'd say people think I'm more of a thinker and a listener, before I kind of share my opinion or speak out loud. So I come across as shy. I mean, I guess not right now, but I can come across as shy. But in reality, I'm not. I think I take a little while to think things through before I share my opinion. So I think that's when people get to know me more, they realize, or if I'm in a conversation like this, I think you realize I'm not shy, but I think at first glance, people think that.
I love it. That's great. Okay. Besides Twigz, because we've already talked about Twigz, what food or drink are you hooked on right now?
Oh boy. I love, let's see, drink. I love a good ginger kombucha. That's, I just next, or bubble teas. I love a good mango bubble tea.
So it's funny. I lived in Asia for a year, many years ago, and Canada did not, to my knowledge, did not have bubble tea at that time that you could very easily access. So when I moved there was all these besides the fact that it was like a completely different situation than I was used to. So there was lots of new things to learn, but there was all these bubble tea places everywhere and everyone's talking about this bubble tea. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And so I saw them and they had these cool little machines that some of the places have them here too, but not all of them. Some of them just have regular lids, but those cool machines in the real authentic shops that pull the foil on top that you stab your straw through. And I was like, oh, I've got to try these. This looks so great. Tried it. Can't do it. I'm just not do the pearls. I want to love it. I want to love it. And my kids are obsessed with it. It's a constant purchase. And they're like, Mom, do you want to try it? And they know if I take a sip and a pearl comes in, the pearl's going back down the straw. I can't do it.
You know what's funny? The first couple of times I tried it, same thing. I think it was the texture that threw me off. And then obviously tried it some more and learned to love it. But yes, I feel like it's a love or a hate thing because of the texture.
And I want to. I probably just need to keep trying it, but so far it's not pointing in that direction. Oh, that's good. Okay, where are you hoping to travel to next?
Ooh, oh gosh. I would love to do a Europe trip. I would love to go to Portugal. Portugal and Spain. That would be kind of a dream trip one day. My husband and I, we love to go sailing. So I think our dream trip would be also to go to Greece and kind of sail throughout the islands there. I know, obviously down the road, and don't have the time right now either, especially the little one, but that would be kind of the dream destination.
That sounds amazing, especially in the dead of winter, as we think about floating around Greek islands.
Relaxing in the sun. I know.
Oh, love it. Okay, last question. What is bringing you joy right now?
Ooh, probably my daughter. I'd say, yeah, she's been wonderful. Yeah, the sweetest little thing. And I mean, it's a huge life change, obviously, and lots of stressors that come along with it and things like that. But yeah, the joy that she brings to our lives is, yeah, pretty amazing.
Oh, that's so good. Ashley, thank you so much for sharing your story and just the inner workings of your business. This has been such a fun conversation.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.